video, I'm going to tell you how you can go about using a memory palace to remember new information instantly. Now, memory palaces are sometimes called mind palace, method of loci. Whatever you call them though, they're actually really useful. Now, when I first heard the term memory palace, I definitely thought that it sounded like some sort of magic trick or a bit gimmicky, a bit like something that really wasn't going to help me in any sort of real scholarly or educational way. It turns out they are super duper useful. I use them all the time. I use them for any sort of complex or long information that I need to learn. For example, when I remembered 1,000 digits of pi in 30 minutes, I used a memory palace to store that information. Now don't worry, this is going to become clear. Today we're just going to look at a basic example and you're going to learn how to use them for yourself. So what is a memory palace? A memory palace is simply a place you already know. It can be real or it can be imagined, but you need to be able to see it clearly in your mind and know a pathway through it that you're going to take. You choose locations inside that palace in a pathway, and then you place information at each of those locations in order to recall the information. And this serves as a type of hook. You're essentially scaffolding on new information onto something you already know. Now this is kind of like how when you learn something in a course or at school, you don't learn all of the information at once. The teacher normally teaches you the first key headings, the first key components, and then once they're in your long-term memory, they build on those concepts. Well, a memory palace kind of bypasses that first bit where you need to remember the first piece of information because it attaches it onto something you've already learned. You already know that when you walk from your bedroom into your lounge room, you know the layout of the locations, you know where you choose to look, and you can attach the new information in the form of images and stories onto those locations. So we're going to use this basic shopping list as an example. So I've just jotted down a shopping list. I haven't yet remembered them, and we'll just go through them and see how we go by placing them in a memory palace. So we'll choose your own home, the place where you live, in order to store this information. Now, this type of memory palace, it's important to note, is sort of what I think of as a temporary memory palace. So I have certain memory palaces that I use for temporary information. So that might be for a shopping list. It could be when I go to a work meeting and I need to remember the information as it hits me in the meeting. But after I leave the meeting, I could take down a few notes or whatever, and after that I can sort of discard the information. So it's sort of for information that you might want to learn on a temporary, for the next couple of days sort of basis. Then I have memory palaces that I use for long-term storage, and I'm going to do other videos about that because it's a whole different area. But basically just for you to know that you can use memory palaces also for longer term learning, like languages, or for university courses, or memorizing speeches that you need to give, nearly anything at all. So let's start with this list. So I want you to picture your front door. So you just want to see what it looks like. Really see all the detail that you possibly can. Where is the doorbell? Is it made of glass? Is the door made of wood? Is it dirty? Is it clean? Do you have bricks around? Is it tiles? Is it corrugated iron? What is it? What are the materials that are, your door and around your door? And then we're going to attach the first item. So the first item on this list is oranges. So we're not just going to put oranges there, but what we're going to do is we're going to try and, as much as possible, interact with the location. So for the front door, I would get these oranges and I'd be throwing them against the door, and I'd be seeing them splatter and make a big mess on my front door, which is glass. And I'd be thinking, oh, this is going to be a real mess to clean up. It's sticky. I can smell it. It's sort of sweet. Then I would go into the next location. So I want you to make sure you visualize that, even if you have to pause the video, and then go to your next location. Now the next location, and I'm just going to generalize here, so you might have to adjust this a little bit for your own personal, home. So I go inside the door, and directly inside my front door is this ramshackle pile of shoes. I'm not too proud of it. I wish it wasn't there, but it is. It just builds up. So I'm going to use that as my next location. So you go in your mind inside your front door, and whatever's there, whether there's a little table or just even on the floor there, you're going to use that location. Now, the next thing on the list is a watermelon. So for me, the first thing that springs to my mind when I'm trying to make this comical, interesting, and exciting, which is what you need to be doing with the imagery, is I'm going to see this watermelon, but it's got little arms and legs now, and it's jumping up and down on top of my shoes, and it's pulling funny faces and things. And I'm thinking, gosh, I really hope that doesn't break, like the oranges and all the watermelon would get into my shoes. And, you know, so I'm sort of visualizing that whole scene. That's it. We move on to the next location. And the next item on our shopping list is an onion. So for my next location, I'm going to go to under my couch. So my living room is near there. So you go to wherever you might have an area where you just sit down and relax in your home. So mine is my couch. I'm going to go under my couch. And the reason I'm going to do that is because with memory palaces, I find that with the locations inside them, it's best if you can change the heights and even the size. So, you know, sometimes you might have a really big space to place your image, and sometimes you might have a teeny little space. So I'm going under the couch. And then under the couch, I'm going to place this lonely little onion, and it's a male onion for some reason, and he's rolling around and he's kind of moaning and complaining because it's all a bit dusty under there. It's quite small. He doesn't really have a lot of room, and he's trying to move around. He's going, "Why do you always keep onions in the dark? I'm a nice onion." So I just see that rolling around under my couch. Then the next item on the list is a tin of tomatoes. I'm now going to go onto the coffee table next to my couch. So I've got a coffee table just there, and on top of the coffee table are some books. So I'm going to open this tin of tomatoes and I'm going to pour it all over the books. And I can see that it's sort of spilling down them, and it looks a bit like blood. And I'm thinking, gosh, this is a bit grim. These are my favorite books, and it's like someone's been shot there. And that's all I need to do. So the next location I'm going to choose is I'm going to go into the bathroom. So far we've gone front door, just inside the front door, under the couch, on the coffee table, and now I'm going into the bathroom. So if you need to pause the video, you want to have a similar sort of pathway layout, and now meet me in the bathroom. So in the bathroom, I'm going to go into the bathroom sink to start with. And inside the bathroom sink, the next item on the list is walnuts. So I go to wash my hands, and as I put them in the sink, there's all these walnuts in there, and I'm getting nuts all over my fingers, and I'm thinking, wow, I hope that there's no one who's coming over to dinner that's allergic to nuts. Then I would go into the shower, and in the shower, the next item is rice. So the first thing that springs to my mind when I think of a shower and I'm trying to interact an image of rice is that I'm standing in the shower and I go to turn on the tap, and all this rice comes pelting out at me. So instead of getting washed, I'm suddenly getting pelted and hit on the head with rice coming out of the tap. And that's enough for that. The next item, number 7 on our list, is pasta. And now my next location is going to be the toilet. So I go, okay, pasta and toilet, what can I do here? Well, I pour the pasta into the toilet like I'm going to cook it in there, which is really disgusting. And I look in the toilet and it's bubbling like it's, you know, it's boiling, it's ready for the pasta. And I'm thinking, this isn't very hygienic, but, you know, maybe it's all right. So that's the image for that. Then the next one on the list is coffee. And I'm going to move to my kitchen table. So I've got a kitchen table and I've got loose coffee grinds, and I'm going to scatter them all over the table, and I'm sort of going to rub it into the wood because maybe I want the nice smell, and I'll smell it, try and get all my senses involved, rub the coffee into the wood because somehow I think it's going to be nice for the table and make it smell good. So you might notice I'm also trying to use as many of my senses as possible. So like, you know, you smell things and you feel what they'd feel like. You feel the rice on your skin. So you want to not only see the images in your head and interact them with the location, but you want as much as possible to kind of use your senses how you would actually use them if you were really seeing it in real life, because that's what's going to make you remember it. The next on the list is number 9 is honey. So I'm going to choose the chair next to the table in the kitchen. So you choose, your next location, and make sure you're really following along with me as I do this. And I'm going to squeeze the honey out onto the chair, and it's like a little joke, because I know that the next time someone's bottom sits down on the chair, it's going to make a big sticky sound, and it's all going to get sticky and horrible. Then my next location will be the fridge in my kitchen. And the next item is socks. So from the supermarket, I also need to pick up some business socks. So I open the fridge, and when I open it, I don't see food there, but I see all these business socks, and they're running up and down, you know, on top of all my food, and they're jumping in and out, and they're these alive socks. And I quickly try and shut the fridge door because I don't want them to get out, but I see like one little half of a sock's got out and it's going, it's yelling because it's got its little head stuck or something. Now, these are just the first things that come into my head. So I haven't done this list before putting this video on. If I had a different list in different locations, it would be different images. So it's just really just the first image that comes to my mind. Then we get to the oven, and the next item on the list is a toothbrush. So I'm going to open the oven and I'm going to look inside, and it's hot. And I see this poor little toothbrush, and it's a little bit melted because of the hot weather inside the oven, and it's sort of a little bit bent over because it's plastic, and it's trying to clean the inside of the oven with its head. So I don't know if you've ever used a toothbrush for cleaning, but I have. So I mean, an old one. So you've got this old toothbrush, and it's in the oven, and it's cleaning the oven, and it's all hot, and like its little head's bending over, and it's going, "Can I come out yet?" And you're like, "No, my oven's not clean, stay in there." Item number 12 is shampoo, and I'm going to go up onto the kitchen bench, and I'm going to see, you know, there's a breadboard there and there's some food on it, and then, you know, someone's squeezing shampoo on top of this food that's being prepared on the chopping board, and I'm like, no, wait, stop, that's going to be poisonous. And the person's going, no, it's going to taste great, and they're like going like this and massaging it in like how you would into your hair, into the food, and it's all frothing up, and I can smell it smells very synthetic and like it's not going to be very nice or tasty. And then item number 13, I'm going to move to the kitchen sink, and in the kitchen sink I am going to go put my hands in to wash the dishes, and there's the item number 13 on the list is pegs, as in I need to buy new pegs for my line. So in the sink there's going to be these pegs, and they're jumping out of the water almost like snapping fish like this, and I'm trying to get my hands into the water, and they're jumping up to bite my hand, and I can't quite get them in, and I can see they're pink and green for some reason. That's just the first thing that sprang to my head. So basically, when you get good at this style of list, what happens is, as you're, say, driving to the supermarket, you can be making this up on the go. You go, okay, I need oranges, I need, you know, and you do the list. The next thing, you know, would be for you to go through and check that you have these items. Now, the main thing is also that you know the pathways, so you know where you went. And if this was your temporary training palace, you could use this every other day and place new information into it, and just always use the same pathway. So we just go back over it, and we go, you know, we're at the front door, we see it there, I'm splattering the oranges onto it, it's going onto my glass, I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to have to clean that. Then I walk in my front door, and I see the mound of shoes, and there's a watermelon jumping up and down. I'm hoping it's not also going to break and go into my shoes. Then under my couch, I see this grumpy onion trying not to get dusty. Onto my coffee table, and I've opened a tin of tomatoes, and I've poured them all over my lovely coffee table books, and it looks like blood, and I'm thinking, oh, my lovely books. And then I go into the bathroom, and I go to wash my hands, and instead it's walnuts, and the sink's full of walnuts, and I'm getting it under my nails, and I'm thinking, gosh, I hope someone's not coming over soon who has anaphylaxis to nuts. And then I get into the shower, I turn on the shower, rice comes out and pelts me, and it's ouchy. And then into the toilet, and I look down and I see bubbling pasta. So I know I've got to get pasta. Then I go to my kitchen table, and I've poured coffee grinds over it, and I'm rubbing them in so that it smells all nice. I go to sit down on the chair, or someone goes to sit down on the chair next to the table, and they squish honey into their pants because I've put honey on the seat. We open up the fridge door, and there's these mad business socks running back and forth, and I go to shut it, and business sock gets caught with its head, and it's going, ow, let me out. Then we open the oven, and in the oven there's this poor little half-melted toothbrush cleaning the oven, going, I'm so hot, is it clean enough? And I'm like, no, it's not clean enough yet, stay in there. Then we go out onto the bench, where I see someone doing some food preparation on a breadboard, and they're putting shampoo on top of the food and massaging it in, and it's all fluffing up, and I'm thinking this isn't going to be good or safe to eat. And then I go to wash the dishes and I go to put my hands into the suds and into the sink, and I see the pegs come up and nip me on the hands, and so I know I've got to buy pegs. All right, so hopefully this worked for you. You know, you can pause the video, give it a go, see if you remembered them. If you didn't remember them, there's a couple of troubleshooting points. You might not have visualized it properly. You might not have made the image or story crazy enough, or it might be that you're using my story and my tale and not the ones that would come first to your own head, in which case try it out with a different memory palace and a different list of your own. It could also be that you're not interacting the location with the item. So sometimes I do that and sometimes I don't. I kind of do it when it feels natural. So like the onion rolling under the couch, I see it rolling into the dust, and in the oven, the toothbrush was hot. So I interact it where possible. That's always good because it adds another hook or association to bring back the information, but you don't have to have it. Another thing that's really important as you make memory palaces is to check that you're changing the heights and angles of the memory palace, the locations rather. So, you know, you don't always want to have them at eye height or at floor height or at ceiling height. They can be all over the place, and they can be, you know, really quite unusual locations, like the top of a picture frame rail or on your lampshade, or, you know, they can be all different sizes and locations. And you can also see it from all different angles. So you could see it from above, you can see it from straight on, you can zoom in. So you almost like want to play an artistic, creative game in your head as you build these lists. The important thing to notice with a memory palace is before you put information into a memory palace, it's really useful to just take a second to look at the information and order it correctly. So you don't want to go about remembering something and then find out that you've done it in an illogical manner. So for the shopping list, I did all the fruits and vegetables together, I did all the grains together, and then I did all the non-food items together. And that way, when I'm in the supermarket and I'm trying to get the information back, I can do it in chunks. I'm in the fruit and veggie section, and so I can get my fruit and veggies. And that's the same whether you're learning, you know, whatever it is you're learning. Normally there's a more sensible order to group things. And so you want to do that before you start any sort of memorization. Now, this was a simple shopping list, you know, so how useful is this? Actually, it's really useful. So not for shopping lists, I mean, you know, for them too. But what it's really useful for is actually learning a lot of new information, and you can learn it much faster than you would without a list, without a memory palace rather. So memory palaces are great for when the information is really big or really complex, or if the order is important. So let's say you were trying to remember all the African nations in order of size or GDP. You have the list and you start out and you start from the smallest and you go through to the biggest, and you're in an exam, and then you know which one's the biggest and which one's the smallest and where they all are in between. If you apply some other memory techniques, you can also put numbers in there if you wanted to remember, you know, size in population or GDP. So even though this was a really basic example today, memory palaces can be used to remember really long and complex pieces of information. It's how I'd go about remembering a dictionary, a textbook, a poem, or a presentation. Memory athletes use them extensively to remember all sorts of ridiculous amounts of information. So we started off today with this really basic example, but with practice, you will be able to store really complex information really quickly. And like anything, it takes practice. So, you know, this is just the very fundamentals, the very basics of using memory palaces. And as you use them and play with them and practice them, you'll see that there's a lot more to it that you can slowly add over time. So over the next week or two, see if you can recall a couple of shopping lists in this manner. You can use your memory palace that you've created today again in a few days' time for more temporary information, like another shopping list or a list of things that you need to remember to do today at work. Memory palaces are not as simple as just learning them and suddenly you're an expert. What you've got to do instead is practice using them. Start off with simple things like a shopping list and then work your way up to more complex information. I'm going to go into some more depth in upcoming videos where you can troubleshoot some problems you might be having and make sure that you're building really good memory palaces. We're also going to talk about how you can have a memory palace library and how you can use it for short-term information versus long-term. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you're not already a subscriber, make sure you subscribe, and that way you'll know when new memory videos come out. Head over to masterrecall.com and drop in your email, and I'll make sure that you receive exclusive memory tips that are only available to my subscribers.